Hey everyone, and welcome back to Budget to Bankroll, your go to space for real talk about money, mindset, and building a life that actually works for you. I'm Very, and today's episode is a little personal, a little reflective, and honestly, one I wish someone had made when I was younger. We're talking about what I'd do with my money if I were 20 again. Whether you're in your 20s now or you've already passed that chapter, this episode is all about looking back, learning from the money mistakes most of us make, and figuring out how we'd play things differently if we had the chance to start fresh. So if you've ever thought, ugh, I wish I had known this sooner, or if you're just trying to avoid the regret part entirely, this episode's for you. I'm going to break down all the financial missteps I made in my 20s, the exact things I would do if I could do it all over again, and most importantly, how you can apply these lessons starting right now. Let's dive in. All right, let's talk about it. My 20s were a mix of late night pizza, big dreams, and questionable money choices. And while I learned a lot, I definitely took the long way on a few lessons. So here are some of the biggest things I got wrong when it came to money. One, I spent to impress. I didn't even realize it at the time, but so much of my spending came down to trying to look like I had it all together, whether it was eating out too much, buying clothes I didn't need, or saying yes to weekend trips I couldn't afford. I was more focused on looking successful than actually building success. Two, I avoided investing. Investing felt confusing and overwhelming. I thought it was only for people who had a lot of money or financial advisors. So I waited and waited, and I missed out on years of compound growth. If I could go back, I'd tell 20-year-old me, just start. Even if it's $20 a month, just start. Three, I thought budgeting was restrictive. I saw budgeting as this boring, restricting thing, like it was going to kill all my fun. But the truth is, not budgeting was what actually limited me. I constantly felt broke, even when I wasn't. Knowing where your money is going is power. I just didn't know that yet. Four, I traded credit cards like free money. Credit cards were fun until the bills came. I would justify swipes by telling myself, oh, it's only $30 or I'll pay it off next month. Spoiler alert, I didn't. And those balances add up fast when you're just paying minimums. I ended up with debt that took way too long to get rid of. Retirement, future me, that felt like old people problems. I was focused on surviving the week, not planning for the next decade. But now I see how every small decision, good or bad, compounded over time. Switching a job, I would just cash out my retirement from that job, if I even had one, and start over fresh with the next job. And then the next, and the next. And you know what? It didn't help me at all. I might as well have never had those retirement plans during each of those jobs, since the money was being spent anyway. So, yeah, my 20s were full of lessons. And while I can't go back and change those decisions, I can share what I've learned and hopefully help someone else avoid the same financial growing pains. So, let's break down what I do differently if I were 20 again. Stick with me here. All right, let's pretend I woke up tomorrow and I was 20 again. Same energy, same big dreams, but this time I've got the knowledge I have now. What would I actually do with my money? Here's the playbook I'd follow step by step. One, start an emergency fund immediately. If there's one thing life loves to do, it's throw curveballs. Flat tires, unexpected medical bills, your laptop dying in the middle of finals. Yeah, I've been there. And without a backup fund, those moments hurt. If I could do it over, I wouldn't wait until I was making more money or had a real job. I'd start right now, even if it meant stashing away $5 or $10 a week. The goal isn't to build a perfect fund overnight, it's to build the habit. Ideally, you want to get to 3 to 6 months of living expenses, but honestly, just aim for $500 to $1,000 at first. That small cushion gives you room to breathe and it keeps you from going into debt every time life sneezes. And here's the key, I'd keep it somewhere separate. A high yield savings account, maybe one that's a little harder to access so I don't dip into it for concert tickets or late night sushi runs. Two, invest early, even if it's just $25. This one's huge. And if I'm being honest, one of my biggest regrets. In my 20s, I thought investing was for people in suits who read the Wall Street Journal for fun. I didn't realize you can start with a little bit of money and still make a huge impact over time. If I could do it again, I'd open a Roth IRA, which is basically a retirement account where your money grows tax free. And I'd invest in something simple like a low cost index fund. No day trading, no hype, just consistent, steady growth. Here's a wild stat. If you invest just $100 a month starting at age 20 and earn an average return of 8%, you'd have over $300,000 by age 60. That's the power of compound interest. Time does so much of the heavy lifting if you start early. Even if all I had was $25 a month, I'd still do it because it's not about the amount, it's about building that habit and letting time work its magic. Three, track every dollar. I know. I used to roll my eyes at this too. Budgeting sounded like something only super responsible adults did. But tracking your money isn't about restriction, it's about awareness. If I could go back, I'd start tracking every dollar I earned and spent. Not in a controlling, obsessive way, but just to understand where my money was actually going. Because I thought I had a spending problem, but really, I had an awareness problem. And the truth is, most people don't have an income problem. They have a leak problem. Money's coming in, but it's quietly slipping away through subscriptions you forgot about, late night impulse buys, or daily coffee runs that don't seem like much until they add up to $150 a month. I'd use whatever method works for me, an app like Mint, a spreadsheet, even a notebook. The method doesn't matter, the habit does. Once I started tracking, everything changed. I felt less anxious, more in control, and better able to make decisions that actually supported my long term goals. Four, live below my means. This is the unglamorous advice that actually builds wealth. Not overnight success, not the next big crypto coin, just don't spend more than you make. If I could do it again, I'd remind myself it's okay to want nice things, but you don't have to have them all at once. Easier said than done, I know. But me, I'd choose the cheaper apartment. I'd drive the used car a little longer. I'd say no to things I couldn't afford instead of stretching my budget or my credit card to say yes. Living below your means doesn't mean being cheap. It means being strategic. It's giving future you options, freedom, and peace of mind. And here's the twist, the less you spend, the more you can save and invest, which means the faster you build a cushion, the more confident you feel, and the less you rely on your next paycheck to survive. I used to think freedom came from making more. And yeah, income absolutely matters. But freedom actually starts with how you spend what you have. Five, use credit cards, but carefully and intentionally. Credit cards are one of those tools that can either help you build a strong financial future or quietly sabotage you if you're not careful. If I could go back, I'd still use credit cards, but I treat them more like debit cards with perks. What I mean is, I'd never charge more than I could pay off in full each month. No exceptions. Why? Because interest rates on credit cards are brutal. That $100 dinner can turn into $140 or more if you let the balance sit there. And trust me, I've been the person who thought, oh, I'll pay it off next month. And then suddenly I'm in this cycle of minimum payments and feeling so guilty. But if you do use them wisely, credit cards can build your credit, help you qualify for better rates later, and rack up travel points or cash back. So, yes, use them, but with discipline. Set up automatic payments, track your balance, and never think of that credit limit as you're spending money. 6, start a side hustle early. Now, this one, game changer. If I could go back, I'd start a small side hustle as early as possible. Not because I had to, but because it's one of the best ways to learn how to make money on your own terms. Maybe I'd freelance in something I'm already good at. Maybe I'd sell digital products, offer tutoring, start a blog, run social media accounts, whatever fits my skills and schedule. The goal wouldn't be to get rich overnight. It would be to learn how to earn outside of a paycheck. Because when you have even a tiny stream of income that you control, it changes how you walk into jobs. It gives you confidence. And over time, it can grow into something meaningful. Some of the most successful people I know started with little weekend projects that turned into full time opportunities. Even if the hustle just brings in $200 a month, that's money that could go towards debt, investing, or building your emergency fund faster. And maybe more importantly, you're building skills. And 7, invest in myself relentlessly. If I had to pick just one thing to focus on in my 20s, it'd be this: invest in me. That means reading books that challenge how I think, taking online courses to level up my skills, finding mentors, listening to podcasts, going to workshops, spending time and money becoming someone who creates more value, not just applying for jobs. Because here's the secret: when you invest in your ability to earn, you unlock the kind of freedom no paycheck alone can give you. You become adaptable, resilient, more valuable. The iPhone upgrade, the nights out, the new wardrobe, those things fade. But the knowledge you gain, the skills you sharpen, they compound just like your investments. So I'd budget for growth, even if it meant skipping out on something fun in the short term, because long term, I am the best investment I'll ever make. So that's the playbook. If I were Tony again, I'd focus less on looking rich and more on building a life with real freedom, one small intentional decision at a time. And hey, even if you're not 20 anymore, it is never too late to apply these ideas. I promise your future self will thank you. All right, we've covered what I got wrong, what I'd do differently, and how I'd rebuild if I could start from scratch. But now I want to speak directly to anyone who is in their 20s currently. First of all, don't panic. You do not need to have it all figured out. You're not behind. And trust me, most people are faking it way more than you think. But if I could sit across from you and offer a few pieces of real, honest advice, here's what I'd say. First, get curious about money. You don't need to become a financial expert overnight, but start learning. Read one book, follow one podcast, ask questions, just get curious. Money touches everything: your freedom, your options, your stress levels, your relationships. So the earlier you understand how it works, the more powerful you become. Don't let shame or confusion keep you from learning. Everyone starts somewhere. Just start now. Second, your lifestyle doesn't have to match your income. The world will try to convince you that more money should mean a better car, a bigger apartment, nicer clothes. But the truth is, freedom comes from not needing all of that. If you can build a gap between what you make and what you spend and protect that gap, you open up options for your future self. You get to say yes to opportunities and no to pressure. Third, don't let social media define your success. Instagram will show you people your age buying houses, taking luxury vacations, launching startups. What it won't show you is the debt, the burnout, or the pressure behind the scenes. Your path is allowed to look different. You're not failing if you're not a millionaire by 25. Focus on building something solid and sustainable, not just something that looks good online. Fourth, learn to sit with discomfort. Growth isn't always fun. Learning new skills, sticking to a budget, saying no to short term pleasures, that stuff can feel uncomfortable. But that's where the magic happens. If you can learn to sit with discomfort, to ride out the awkward phases and keep going anyway, you'll build grit. And grit gets you further than talent, luck, or a fancy degree. And fifth, you have more time than you think, but not to waste. This one's a balance. You do have time. You don't have to be perfect today, but also start now. Don't wait until you're 30 or 40 to get serious about your money, your health, or your goals. Start small, stay consistent, and let time do its thing. At the end of the day, your 20s are for experimenting, building foundations, and making mistakes. Just try not to make the same ones over and over. You don't have to be the smartest, the richest, or the most successful. Just be intentional. All right, friends, that's all for today's episode. If I could go back in time and give my 20-year-old self advice, I'd tell myself to get serious about my money, track my spending, invest in my growth, and focus on building something sustainable, not flashy. But I want to end this episode with a bit of a challenge for you. If you're in your 20s, or if you just feel like you're starting over, take one thing from today and apply it to your life this week. Is it tracking your spending to get a sense of where your money goes? Maybe it's opening a high yield savings account or starting to invest just a little bit. Or it could be committing to learning something new that will build your skills. Whatever it is, take the first step. Don't overthink it. Start small and stay consistent. The small habits you build now, they'll snowball into huge returns down the road. Also, if today's episode sparked something for you, join the conversation on social media or leave a comment wherever you're listening. And don't forget to subscribe as it makes a huge difference. Let's share our wins and challenges. Together, we can support each other and stay motivated. If you have questions about today's topic or suggestions for something you want me to dive deeper into, don't be shy. Leave us a comment. We love hearing from you all. And of course, if you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend who might benefit from this advice. We're all about building a community here, and your shares help spread the word. Remember, it's not about getting rich quick. It's about building the right habits, making smarter decisions, and staying true to your path, not the one social media says you should follow. Thank you for listening to Budget to Bankroll. I'm Very, and I'll see you in our next episode where we'll dive deeper into side hustles that actually make money in 2025. Until then, take care, keep learning, and stay intentional.